let's kick it off first with the Steelers. I think this is actually probably one of the easiest teams to kind of look at from a fantasy perspective because there's a bunch of names and then there's really not much else here. Just let you guys kick it off here. What do we think of the major weapons for the Steelers? So starting with Ben, Bell, Brown, and JuJu.
So Bell, we touched on him a couple weeks ago. His run efficiency was the worst last year that it's ever been. His yards per reception was down year over year. Breakaway runs also down. Pretty bad against stacked fronts, but he gets so much volume and he's used so much in the passing game that he's guaranteed to be a top 3 running back, regardless of what that efficiency looks like. He was last year.
I mean, he's led the last 2 seasons in opportunity share. It was 89.3% this year, and it was an insane 95.1% last year. So he's not going to not get touches. I mean, that's his game. So,
and this should be his last year in Pittsburgh, so they're going to
run
feed him
fucking ground this year.
There you go.
450 touches.
Yep.
Easy.
Anything on? I heard you start to talk, James. Anything on Bell?
No, you guys nailed it, man. That's exactly what I was going to say, is that this is likely his last year in town. They're going to run him into the ground. I mean, they have nothing to lose. They're not going to care about his value moving forward. So, yeah, you guys nailed it. That's exactly what I was going to say, is that I expect to have one last really good year and then be out the door in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I do too. Brown, you know what you're going to get. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on him. I mean, anybody have any reserves about Brown?
No, he's my wide receiver 1.
He's basically the Aaron Rodgers of wide receivers. You're going to get a top 3 finish out of him if he stays healthy.
And unlike Rodgers, he stays healthy.
Yeah, maybe JuJu steals a little bit more, just given how efficient he was with his numbers last year, and just how ridiculous of a QB rating he gave Big Ben, which is like 130 something. It was insane.
Taking 80-yard touchdowns to the house helps.
Yeah, he's just ultra efficient from the slot too. I mean, he's one of the bigger slot receivers in the league.
JuJu.
Yeah.
So JuJu, I think he stands to see a bit of a target increase, but there's one narrative I've heard a lot that bothers me. And it bothers me because of how just kind of inaccurate it is. I've heard plenty of places, well, he performed when Brown wasn't on the field. He performed when Brown wasn't on the field. Well, yeah, he did perform when Brown wasn't on the field. So I went and looked at JuJu outside of those last 3 weeks when, Brown went down, early in week 15.
Yep.
And so first off, JuJu, weeks 2 through 10, after he saw 0 targets in week 1, but prior to his week 11 suspension, with Antonio Brown, was a wide receiver 18. He saw 7+ targets a game the second half of last year before Brown's injury. So his success and what he was doing was not tied to whether Antonio Brown was or was not on the field. It was tied to him playing well, earning his way onto the field, earning that target share away from Martavis Bryant, whose 80 targets are vacated this year. So I think he stands to see a little bit of a bump and probably closer to what he was seeing at the second half of last year is in terms of a targets per game basis. He's solidly a wide receiver 2 for me.
I mean, you got an offense that's going to probably end up being in at least top 10 in passing attempts. This defense isn't quite what it's been, in the earlier part of the decade and in the early 2000s, late 2000s. So there's going to be a lot of throwing here. Big Ben was a QB1 the last, 10 weeks of the season, something like that. As soon as the defense sucked, everything flipped on its head, and it was the Bell, Brown, JuJu, and Ben show, and that's what it's going to be this year.
All right, so we've gone through 3 players here. I haven't heard a single ranking. I've heard a tier out of somebody. Put some rankings to these guys. I already put Antonio Brown's my 1. Where do you guys have him at?
1.
Yeah, 1.
Sweep it.
Yeah.
I have him at 2.
Actually, yeah.
Ooh, who's your 1 then?
He is my 2. Hopkins is my 1.
Okay.
Hopkins is my 1 as well, yeah.
That's the only other player I've seen in conversation for it. I still would take Brown. I think he's a little safer. And on a points per game basis, last year he was better. He came in at 22 versus 20.8 in a PPR format.
He also had the same quarterback all
Hopkins
year.
is actually safer than Brown probably is. Like just looking at what he did from wide receiver 1 performances and 2. I know the Ballers alluded to this when they went over their wide receiver rankings towards the end, but Hopkins was consistently putting up, 5-6 receptions, 80-something yards, and a touchdown. It was insane what he did.
His numbers were nuts.
But Brown's gonna.
We've seen Brown do this for
I just
5
like the
straight years
Steelers'
now.
offense more so than anything.
Well, if something happens to Ben, then what does that do to Brown? Whereas with Hopkins, we already know.
If it's not Osweiler, Hopkins is fine.
All right, and then JuJu, where do you guys have him at?
Go ahead, Dan, because my rankings are not as solid
He's
as
my
I would like
21
them to be right now.
All right, I got him at 22, so I'm right there with you. I got him as a back end 2. If I can get him as my 3, I'm stoked.
His
If
ADP
he's my 2, I'm okay.
His ADP right now is the 407 in PPR league. So
I will not have him as my 3.
He's going as mainly one of the higher end wide receiver 2s on teams.
James, by the way, I know we're talking a lot. You got to jump in, by the way, if you got something to say. We're really bad at calling on people.
No, you guys are good, man. Everything I was going to say, you guys are nailing. So I feel like I'm contributing next to nothing because you guys are so good at nailing everything I was going to say. But no, real quick with JuJu, I'll just tell you, I think I have him at 19. So I'm kind of a little lower on him. I have him as kind of a low end wide receiver too, but I definitely feel like he can move up, and I think he will eventually. But I don't know if this is the year that I trust him to do that. So we'll see.
Yeah, he came in at 12th for points per game last year at 14.7, but last year was also really weird for wide receivers where scoring was just down across the board. I think that corrects a little bit this year, and he's probably going to be more of a solid wide receiver 2 than a 1 again.
Where do you guys have Big Ben ranked? Because we know where Bell's going to be ranked. Where's Big Ben?
10th.
I have him at 11.
I have him at 13.
Okay.
I have him way too early at 9.
That's fair, though.
Yeah.
I mean
what
what he did last year was insane.
That
at least towards the end.
9 through like 18 range is just a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's that home road split early, especially early last year, was really annoying.
There's 60 yards a game difference between his home numbers and his road numbers.
Yeah, it gets bad, and I think it's like 3/4 of a touchdown too.
Yep.
So yeah, you're losing at least 5 points a game between the two.
He's almost in there, but he's not quite there.
Yeah, so I like him a lot this year. I don't think the defense is going to be that great, so he may be more shootout Ben mode, which is what you want. But
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that. And then Bell, I assume, is top 3 for everybody.
He's my 1 because of volume. That's pretty much it.
He's my 1 as well.
All right, I got him down at 3 just because of some of the efficiency concerns, but I know the volume's going to be there. So as long as he's healthier, doesn't get caught smoking weed again, he'll be fine. All right, the only other names I wanted to really touch on here, James Conner. What do you think of him as a handcuff?
I still think he's one of the better handcuffs in the league if he's, gets a chance ever if something happens to Bell, if Bell holds out into the season.
I mean, I think if Bell gets hurt, it's him and Jalen Samuels. If Samuels remains a running back, I think he gets potential pass catching work out of the backfield. That's what they're going to
Have you seen a few depth charts listing him as a fullback now?
Connor?
Samuels.
Oh.
Samuels? Yes, I have.
I have not.
And I think
Interesting.
it's probably about right for Samuels.
I think it'll be a fullback.
H-back.
It'll be a move tight end out of the backfield
It'll be
type situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Red Ellison,
Use check.
use check, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Connor. I mean, when he did see, I really liked him coming out of Pitt, but when he did see action last year, he didn't seem very effective. His yards per carry, I believe, were pretty low too. So I'd like to see a better showing this year.
I mean,
he's gonna,
it wasn't that much worse than Bell, though.
Yeah, Bell's wasn't great either. I think they just, as a whole, had some problems running between the tackles.
Oh, okay. So Bell just kind of got the volume to make.
Yeah,
up
he
for
was
it.
he was below 4, wasn't he? He was like
I think he
3.8,
was
3.9.
3.9.
Who?
Bell.
No, Bell was at exactly 4 yards per carry.
Yeah, it was the worst year of his career, I think, since his rookie season at least.
It was.
Yeah.
All right. And then James Washington. Do we see anything for him coming in as a rookie?
Not other than just kind of, you could see him in maybe that 50 target range. Not enough to be fantasy relevant, though. And I know you were on board with me on this, Nick, but I just really didn't like his NFL prospects coming out, and I really don't like him as a Martavis Bryant replacement.
I think for what you're getting from him, I mean, it depends how the offense shapes up. Like if it's more, pass heavy, Washington could see an uptick, but not enough to be fantasy relevant. He's good at stacking. He's good at being a downfield threat, but that's against college defenders and against college defenses like the Big 12, where he's not going to see that same level of competition.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys on Washington. I wasn't very high on him coming out. I think this is a nice landing spot. I know that he's going to be a wide receiver 3 kind of, he's kind of pitch and hold as that Martavius Bryant type guy. He's going to be that deep threat. I think that's where he excels, though. So I'm a little bit higher on him just based on landing spot than I was previously pre-draft. But I think you're right. I think he definitely has some limited upside. He's not going to see a ton of targets, at least this year. I don't feel.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And what I didn't like on tape is he was a deep threat, but it was a different type of deep threat. I didn't see him separating that much, so much as I did running down the field and gaining position on the defensive back. And I think he's going to have a harder time doing that in the NFL.
He's basically Torrey Smith.
Yeah, it was some fun tape to watch for him, but I just don't know how he does in the NFL against NFL cornerbacks.
It's a wait and see. We'll see how Pittsburgh uses him.
All right, and then to wrap this up, the tight ends, Jesse James and Vance McDonald. Are you putting your money on either one? I know McDonald's the one that seems to be getting the more hype.
Until he gets hurt.
Vance McDonald's been hyped the last 3 seasons. Give me Jesse James if I have to.
Donald's missed 11 games in 2 seasons. And people are hyping him because he had 16 targets against Jacksonville in the AFC Championship game. He's getting hyped as a starter right now, but Jesse James had, I think, or at least one or two double-digit target games. They both kind of fill the Heath Miller role. So who's ever the healthiest and whoever looks good that game. You can't start either of them though.
It's tight end by committee. I don't want one.
I'm gonna feel like a sucker here because I'm gonna buy the Vance McDonald.
That's good.
I'm gonna buy it based on my co-host Travis Rasmussen at Travis NFL. He's really been championing Vance McDonald lately, and really, you look at his athletic profile when he came out, and he is just, I mean,
he's insane.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, when you look at athletically how he projects, he should be an excellent tight end. But like you guys have said, he hasn't stayed healthy, and health is a huge issue with him. If he does stay healthy, which I know is a huge if because it's been a few years and we still haven't seen that, but if he does, I definitely feel like he has some high upside. So I'm going to buy a little bit of the Vance McDonald based on his ADP because he's right now. I mean, you can get him basically for free. I mean, this is a guy who you could probably take in your last round, depending on, how deep your draft is. But definitely late round, you don't have to invest a lot to get him, and he could be a high ceiling guy. So I'm going to buy Vance McDonald a little bit here.
If I was taking one, I do agree with you. It would be McDonald. I don't want really either one just because the target volume is probably not going to be there with both of them seeing the field. But McDonald has the athletic upside. So if I'm taking a shot at one and I'm that desperate, he's the one I'm going to take a swing at. He's 24th for me in my rankings. I didn't rank James. All right. That wraps it up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think for final record on these guys?
Probably 10-6, 11-5, somewhere in there. I didn't get a look at it and break it down.
I just guessed. I put 10-6, but I didn't, go into depth with. I haven't looked at their schedule or anything like that.
Offense is good enough, but been on the road, and then the defense, especially with no Shazier.
All right. I said 12-4 just because I think they're going to run roughshod over the division, and
they probably will. I just don't want to believe it yet.
Yeah, I as a Browns fan, I admitted kind of that I felt like they would go 5-1 at worst in that division. So I have them at 11-5.
I could easily see them going 4-2 in the division too. I could see the Ravens stealing one and the Browns picking up a statement win.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
I like that. Browns picking up a statement win.
Browns will get a few of those this year.
Yeah, they will.